Look out, man. It's super dope to have you guys here with me tonight, man, on my first episode of We Just Talk'N, man. I'm super excited about this, man. This is was given to me in the vision. I just want to, go with it, man. It's just great to have conversations with, positive brothers and, talk about some things that I think sometimes we need to hear as brothers. So, tonight's topic is about daddies or fathers, man. Daddies or fathers. And so, but before I get started, man, I want to introduce my guest with me today, man. I got BJ, Shot Beat, what they call him, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Then I got my main man, Jordan, right here, that's kind of hanging out with me. Yeah, don't look back there. Your camera, just look, just talk. Your camera, that's your camera right there, yeah. So I got Jordan, then I got William, look, he's so laid back. He just 100, he laid back. But again, man, it's super dope to have you guys here with me, man. I just want you guys to be open and honest, man, and, maybe something that we say can help somebody. But as I always, with this new journey on this podcast, I'm going to always say, people, don't take this personal because we just talking, all right? All right. So, guys, let me start off like this here with my first question to you guys. So, what's the difference you think, man, in your opinion, what's the difference you think between a daddy and a father? Well, you always hear people say, that's a difference between a daddy and a father. So, when you think about that, B, what would be your opinion about what's the difference between a dad and a father?
That's a great question, man. I've thought a lot about that, being a father myself and having, father issues with my own dad. And so what I've always believed, just biblically, we know that God is our father. Mm-hmm. He's our father, but God's not our dad. Okay. God leaves being a dad up to us. Okay. A father plants the seed, but a dad has to cultivate that seed. He has to teach him and groom him. And I think of it like this: we can't leave raising our kids up to our father. Mm-hmm. God says we should do that, and that's the way it is with us. We can plant seeds, but when you start taking care of that garden, taking care of that seed, that makes you a dad.
Okay. Jordan, what about you? What's your thought on that?
I don't know. I guess BJ went a little spiritual with it. I go a little natural with it.
Right.
I go a little natural with it. I think a father is somebody that takes the entire role and takes it and cultivates it. Okay. I think a dad takes a portion of that role and he's just a dad. Mm-hmm. But when you're a father, it includes everything. I mean, you are the full scope. You're the protector. You're the provider. I mean, you're everything. But sometimes you can be a dad in just the eyesight. Oh, that's my dad right there. Okay. Or, my dad did this for me or whatever. But when it comes to teaching kids and just really cultivating them, my dad often used to tell me, you get one chance to raise your kids. Because I had my kids very young. Real young. Too young not to be embarrassed about, but real young. Right. But I had my kids young. And I remember my dad telling me, you only get one chance to raise them. Once you raise them, that's it. Yeah. So you decide. If you're going to be just a dad, you can be that forever, but you're going to be a father. So I just think it's in the natural, there's a difference in that way.
Okay, I like where it looks. All right, William, what's your thought?
You know what? I really piggyback on both BJ and Chris, man. If you look in what father is, especially biblically, that's just what you described. Mm-hmm. A father, a protector, that's what Jesus was to us. Yep. So you're right, that to me that is the epitome of what a father is. Mm-hmm. But that there's no, man, when you talk about a dad, I love to hear my kids call me dad.
Yeah.
Man, they don't know this, but that's music to my ears because I hear some people call and say, well, father.
Right.
And to me, that's almost being mechanical.
Right.
Yeah. But when you hear dad, that means, man, that's like a something tugging on your heartstrings. You be like, Dad, Pops. I love to hear my kids say, yo, Pops, because that's genuine and that's coming from his heart. Oh yeah. Versus father, that's being, that's mechanical to me. That's soldier. So
I like that. Man.
Yeah, man, I love to hear that.
Because I've never, when my daughter called me daddy. Man, it
do something too,
sounds,
you ready to open
it
up?
Makes me,
you ready to open up the pocket? You open up the wallet?
When she need, baby. When she call and need help, she said, "Dad, I need you. Where you at?" You see what I'm saying? Real. Father, hey, Father, what's going on? But yeah, that's powerful.
It's great to hear the differences because when I pulled the difference up and I kind of Googled it, and it said a father is one who's believed to donate his sperm for your creation, right. But the dad is the one who gives up gets up every day and do stuff with the
right.
kids and
That's
put
right.
clothes on your back
That's what
and
I-
so forth and so on. And so
You Google it, huh?
Yeah, I Googled it. I
I
Googled it.
just gave it to you
Yeah,
free.
you gave it to me for
You got to
free.
Google.
Yeah, you gave it to me for free. But
Yeah,
I just kind of want to see what the
Google.
thought was, because I guess it just really depends on your own personal,
Right.
definition.
That's
You know
right.
how you feel about it. You know what I'm saying?
And,
Because
and you know what, man, it's interesting having this conversation. I know a little bit about Chris, know a little bit about my boy William, and about you and our fathers and all. And to hear his definition speaks a lot to his upbringing.
Yeah,
man.
right.
Like
Right.
where it
Exactly.
was, man. It speaks
Yeah, really,
directly to
really.
and I said I won't go real spiritual, but directly
Really.
to his relationship with his father
Right.
and his God. And I like that. I respect
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Though we're
yeah.
totally opposite.
right.
And because we kind of have an idea who we are, but that's powerful.
Yeah, that's
man.
why I said. That's why I
powerful. Your
piggyback on it.
perspective,
If you
man.
really
It
talk
was.
about
We could-
father,
Yeah.
you
it's
talking about
amazing.
Christ.
It's amazing how
That is
the
beautiful.
relationship you had with your father. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Whereas the
Yeah.
three of us really didn't have that relationship, and so that's very interesting. To hear that. So let me go to this next question with you. And so in having or not having a dad, how in your life did that affect you? Whether you had a dad or not, what would you say, Jordan? How did that affect you as a man today, right now?
Having a dad was everything to me. I couldn't honestly, I couldn't fathom not having a father.
Wow.
Knowing the dad that I had now,
Mhm.
I can't even imagine what I would be like. Like, my dad was so strong and present in our family. He was like the man. Like, we all patterned ourselves. And my father was a pastor, but he was a man too.
Right. Right.
And he was a man's man.
And don't
so
forget
he
now,
was-
you had how many brothers?
I got 4 brothers, so it's 5 guys.
Yes,
I have 4 brothers.
Okay.
So it's 5 guys. So my dad was like, he was a man. I mean, my dad, everything. He often said, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna work. I'm gonna make enough money. So anybody in this family that want to go to college, you're gonna be able to go to college.
Yeah.
He was just that kind of dude where anything that came up, he can handle it. Like, you get in trouble, he can handle it. I mean, I just mentioned a little while ago, I mean, I had my kids real young. Even that, man, even being a father, I mean, he was the first one to say, okay, all right, well, we here right now.
Mhm.
I mean, it didn't happen and we here. So let's talk about how we handle it now.
Right.
Let's talk about what we do. No, we can't forfeit college. You got to do that. So me and your mom, we'll do some things financially so you can still go to college. You know, this and that and this and that. So he was that kind of guy. He just was a father in every sense of the word. So when you talk about having one and not having one,
Right. You couldn't
I
even
can't
imagine.
even think about where I would be if I didn't have one.
Right.
So I'm just,
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah. So BJ, when you talk about your dad, present, not present, what how did it affect you?
It's been an amazing journey with my
Mhm.
father, with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing journey, man. And I just had a conversation with my dad today, and I'm gonna keep it short, but I'll tell you this: my dad was with me up until my 9th grade year, and it was tragic. It was traumatic. I'll never forget my dad standing at the what we call the old wood heater. It was in November. My brother and I was getting ready to go to school, and my dad looked at me, and as we got ready to walk out, and said, "I won't be here when you come back." And I had no idea. I knew him and my mom were having some issues and all, arguments or whatever, but I just never imagined that. And so my dad said, I won't be here. And my dad broke down and cried. The first time I've ever seen, my dad was like yours, man. He's a pastor now, but boy, he's a strong brother. I mean, he doesn't cry. And he cried. And so we got home that day, and my daddy was gone, of course. Things were moved out, man. It shook me. It shook me to my core because Dad was this tough guy, just protecting our family. Mm-hmm. And even in my mind, I had that leave it to beaver concept of a family where, you stayed together.
Family, right.
Other people got divorced, but not mine.
Right.
And so it really affected me to cause issues in school for me, man. I had fights and, I had to, and I can speak on it now, but I
Right.
didn't know then. But I was needing a defender. I was needing my dad to be there to help mold me
Right.
through those critical years. And it was critical. It has caused me, as being a father now, some of those same things are playing out in my life with my own daughter that I had early. Mm-hmm. But it's helping me to be a better father, a better dad to my child at my home
Right now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Man, it is. I mean, man, sometimes I'm overly loving. I'm overly want to be there for her. I'm at everything. I want to be there for her. And I'm
Gotcha.
determined, even through the issues in our relationship,
Right.
to be there for my child. But yeah, it's it can be a powerful thing for a man who has faced some failure in his life to be able to now remember those things and try to not allow them to happen in his own family. So that's been very powerful.
Can you add to that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I look at it. I think, man, it's I missed out. You know, because the reason I say I missed out is because
Pull that mic up for me just a little bit so you can.
the reason why I say I missed out was because how I am with my kids. You know, I love my kids, and I love spending time with my kids. You know, and it makes me realize how much I missed out on a father being in the house.
So your dad wasn't there at all?
No, he wasn't there. I have a stepfather, I think around 8, 9, 10 years old, somewhere around there, which he wouldn't work the damn either. But he was a provider. I'm not gonna take that away from him.
Yeah.
But as far as whenever we spent time together, man, I went to the cotton fields and worked with him in order to bring money into the house to help him pay the bills. So I didn't, you know, I'm like, that wasn't spending time with him. So, you know, that wasn't spending daddy, father time with him. So I look at it as, you know, not having a father in the house. Now what I'm doing now is OJT. I'm on the job training. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's OJT
That is so
for me,
real.
you know. So
That's real.
You know, based on what I saw of what a dad was or basically what a father was, you provide and that's it. You know, that goes on from what I saw from my grandfather, what I saw from my great grandfather, what I saw from my stepfather. All I seen them was mostly go to work and put food on the table, pay the bills, and that was it. You know, so and when I first got married and I first became a father, I thought that was it. You know, then I got married the second time with my wife now, and she was like, no, that's not it. Yeah. you got more responsibilities. And I feel like not having a father, and when I say you can have a father in the house, but at the same time, not necessarily have a father in the house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I just wish that it would have, you know, had I had one, it would have showed me a real father. Yeah. It would have showed me the responsibilities that I had, what I should be doing versus what I should not be doing. And that goes from being a father, a husband, you know, I mean, the whole 9
That's
yards.
right.
Yeah. So
The whole 9 yards.
You know
That's
what's
right.
crazy?
Uh-huh.
You know what's crazy,
That's
Will?
real.
Is because I didn't even know that was part of the job of a father for them to be a provider until later on.
Wow.
Really,
Wow.
I didn't.
Right.
Because I always thought my dad's job, you know, growing up, I thought my dad's job was to steer us the right way, to fuss at us when we do bad, and to hooray us when we do good. The financial
Never
part,
even thought about it.
That's
never
crazy,
thought
man.
about that
See
part.
the
That's
difference?
crazy.
And
You see the difference?
Yeah.
What I found, man, just at 52 years old, and this is so crazy, is that we become our fathers.
Yeah.
We become spitting images of our daddies. And I don't know if you want to call it DNA or just that strong upbringing or whatever, man. Some of the same issues my dad had, I have them.
You find yourself
I find
that
myself dealing with them, and you can repeat the cycle. And so in my marriage, as you speak, I'm trying not to repeat the cycle that my dad did, man. Everything I can, even though I made some of the similar mistakes.
But the killing
I'm
part
trying not to do that.
is that at least you can see that I don't know what the spitting image of my father is.
That's true.
And I can't compare myself to him because he's
you
not
wasn't
in my
around.
life.
Yeah, and that's when
That's
I
interesting,
when I put this question down, you know, it resonated with me because I didn't even know who my dad was. You know, I met my dad maybe once or twice in my life, and I think when I see people who has a dad like you Jordan, I really envy that because I think not having a dad is one of my struggles in my marriage. You know, because I never knew what a healthy relationship looked like.
Right.
I never knew what a man was supposed to do or whatever, and I had some uncles who taught me some bad things or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I share with my wife all the time some of the mistakes I made. You know, I don't want to use that for an excuse, but it's just the truth. I never had that example of what, a true man should do, would be a provider, you know, whether to show you what a healthy relationship was, whatever. And I think those things really carried on to me. And I had to do some inner self-therapy, with
Yes,
that. Because it played a major part in my life. And I was just grateful that I had a wife who was able to hang in there with me as I went through that self-therapy myself, because
Would you say that, I think he said this too, on the job training, and my wife had the same conversation, the same exact conversation. But man, we create our new normal. It's a new normal that we're creating, man. You know, a father who stays, and I'm going to use the word father, a dad who stays, right? And so I think that's what we're all kind of learning to do, trying to be.
So then I think about that great conversation, guys. Let me ask you this question right here, because I hear this a lot. Does it often offend you when you hear people say, when I say people, the media, you know, folks or whatever, say that, you know, black men are deadbeat dads, you know, fathers, you know, they don't take care of their kids. How does it make you feel?
Let me tell you, man. Let me tell you something. I have a 17-year-old right now. I have a 36-year-old, and like my boy Chris, I had early, wasn't playing, but I got a 17-year-old. Okay. And let me tell you something, man. I made it a pact that I was going to be there for everything she did. And a lot of times it was just to show my face. And when she had issues in school, me and my wife wanted to make sure we spoke to the teacher, because being an educator myself, that is a term that's used against the black father.
Right.
And what's sad is that we often fall into the stereotype. Honestly, not all of us, but you know, many of our young black men fall into the trap of giving up for whatever reason. But I made it I was determined to be there for my daughter, because I want her to look back and say, yeah, Dad, you made my career determined. You made it when I gave the speech at graduation. You made it when I was leading in academics in my class or whatever.
Right.
Yes, I made sure I wanted to be a part of that.
Okay. Chris, can you add to that?
Yeah. Let me say this. I know we're not going to jump on the whole racial ban and this and that. Right. Let me say this right here.
You can take my answer.
I know. I think most problems with everything across the board, they're universal problems. I honestly don't think we have black problems and white problems and this problem. I think they're universal problems. And I say that based on this. I say that to say, if black people are being stigmatized as people who don't take care of their kids, there are just as many as white people or Hispanic people or Asian people who don't take care of their children either. I just don't believe it's a black problem. So yeah, it bothers me a lot when I hear that, because I know a lot of men, a lot of them. I went to college. I met men all over the world that are now taking care of their kids that are black men. So when I hear people say black men don't take care of their kids and this and that, nah, I can't get with that.
Because to the point you just said, you know, there's a tremendous, like you said, from your whites to your Asians to Hispanic or whatever. But I do think sometimes that media try to subliminally portray black men as, you know, not being good fathers and not, you know, being around. But, you know, it tripped me out, because with me, just like right now, I'm sitting here with three fellas who are very active in their, you know, children's life. And so being that my daughter, my oldest daughter, both of my daughters, they went to a predominantly white school. And so when we had an event, I took my daughter skating or whatever. And so it was like 5 of her little friends, all African Americans. But at the end of the night, all 5 of the dads were sitting there outside waiting for their daughters to, you know, be picked up or whatever. And so I had to share with my kids that sometimes, you know, their reality was like, well, everybody got a daddy. But I had to share to them like, well, no, bro, everybody don't have a daddy. Like, you know what I'm saying? But there are a lot of positive black men who are doing excellent jobs, you know, and they just kind of burns me up too when I see that. And I always try to, you know, sometimes I put on my social media, hey, shout out to all the black fathers, you know, and they don't knock against anybody else, but I just don't like that stigmatism that they try to feel like, you know, that black men are not.
It doesn't fit everybody.
It doesn't fit. Exactly.
And to piggyback on what you were saying, Chris, you're absolutely right. And I'm a statistic person. Statistically, yes, we are higher. You know why? Because first of all, the black population is only 13%, which means that whatever happens in the black population is going to be higher versus the white the Hispanic population, I believe, is like 17, 18%. Wow. So we are truly minorities. And then, of course, the white population is almost 70%.
Yeah.
So when you do statistic wise and you do the percentage,
Yeah.
who's going to come out the highest?
Well, naturally.
The 13%, of course, is going to come out higher. We're only 13% of the population.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that really bothers me because, and then what they want to do is they want to portray that black people are the most people on welfare, which is not true.
It's not true.
No.
But we're the poster child, just like as far as black people, black men not taking care of their kids, we become poster child. We become the poster child for not taking care of our kids because of statistics.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Those
man,
are statistics.
And to
It's
piggyback
good. It's good.
briefly on that is, I did prison ministry. You guys are aware I was doing some prison ministry out in Navasota, and I was shocked at how many Caucasian brothers were in there.
Yeah.
I was shocked. Now
Yeah.
there were a lot of black men there too.
But guess what they try to portray
equally-
though?
Yeah, but equally there was just as many white and Hispanic. And I'll be honest with you, I was like, man, you know,
Yeah.
it kind of blew me away because if I watch the media only,
Yep.
it tells me that they're full of all black
That's
people.
right. It was made for us.
And
That's
granted,
right.
let's
That's
not let's not kid ourselves. And there are different reasons for this, but at an alarming rate, African American males are incarcerated.
We have
do.
our issues.
Definitely,
We have our
definitely,
issues.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely,
But
definitely.
if you look at it holistically, like you said, I think you're right. We'll see a different number being portrayed.
I mean,
I think
if you don't look at, I don't want me to cut you off,
Yeah, no,
but
no,
if
go
you
ahead.
don't look at it statistically,
Yeah. It's
then you will see the real numbers. But the media is only going to put out what is statistically out there. But if
Yeah.
you look at the numbers of incarcerated, it can't be, blacks can't outnumber whites.
Yeah.
There's no way. They can't outnumber Hispanics. Not with a 13% population in the United
Yeah,
States.
no.
They can. They can outnumber them in prison.
I-
they can.
I think for
But
me,
I'm
But they
telling
don't.
you,
though.
they
Yeah,
don't.
They don't. Yeah.
I think for me, I just hate to have those stigmas out there that it's just these people.
Yes,
When it's
which
not.
is us.
Right,
It's,
that's right.
most
Everybody
of the
have-
problems.
Yes.
Most of the problems we have over here in the United States, they're universal
It's
problems.
universal.
They're,
It's
they're
universal.
just not all highlighted, but
Right.
they're universal
Right,
problems.
right. I can
So,
agree with that.
Hey,
I can agree with that. So let me ask you this. I'm gonna get y'all right now. You know, now I listen. I believe that if anything can be done, a black woman can surely do it. There's some amazing women, and you know, if it can be done, the black woman can do it.
Definitely.
But when it comes to raising children without a dad or father, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, do you believe that the child is missing something in the home when the father is not there? And so when I give y'all that question, listen, I think my mom did an excellent job raising me, you know.
Ditto.
But I do believe that I missed something
Yeah.
without having my daddy in the house. I just do. There's no knock on my mom because, like I said, I you know, when I look at, you know, where I am now, I think I turned out great. But I do. I feel like I missed
You all right.
something, you know, without my dad. You know what I'm saying? You hater. You know, yeah. But I did. You know, and I remember my dad. My dad was in and out of prison. You know, it was like a swinging revolving door for him. And so he got out one time, and I hated him. I hate to use that word, but I hated him. And so, but I had to find a way to channel that hatred. And so I had a conversation with him finally. And he told me why he wasn't there was because it was drugs. Drugs made him, you know, and I was like, well, you know, with the heroin you was on, I don't care if you stole something. If you would have just brought me something you stole, I would have felt, you know, a certain way, you know, but just you not being there. And so then when I had my first daughter and the joy I had with her, man, I despised him even more. And so I had to really work on that because I'm like, dude, when I got this bundle of joy, even though I didn't want, I was just like, how could you just not even come by and, you know, like, look, I stole this from Toys R Us or something, you know, but like you didn't do anything. And so that really affected me, you know what I'm saying? But I do think, you know, that's just my opinion. You know, and again, don't take this personal, but I do think that, you know, without the father being in the house, the child misses something. You know, so
I truly believe, and I'll debate the highest courts if I have to. Every family needs a father.
yeah.
My mother raised me and my brother. You know, my mother raised us, man, and she's a great woman, a strong woman, man. I vow to take care of her someday. But man, I'm gonna tell you, when you miss a dad in your house, and I'm talking about a daddy who loves you, who disciplines you, who talks to you. See, there were times in my life when I was 15, man, and my mom couldn't really tell me much.
right.
You know, I got to that 16, 15, 16, 17-year-old deal, and I'm trying to go out and
Smelling
date, do
yourself.
some things. I'm feeling myself. And I'm listening to mama, but mama has done all she can do.
Right.
A dad has the ability, man, to build the capacity for a brother to endure. For us to teaches us to be resilient, man. Your dad teaches you discipline. And I ain't just talking about now. See, we mistake discipline for punishment. No. When I'm talking about discipline, I'm talking about teaching. Where he pull you aside and he helps you to know what a man's supposed to be like, supposed to look like, how you supposed to overcome stuff when you're going through bad times. You don't fold. You don't let your anger take over. You don't let your lust take over. A dad has that ability to build that capacity. I was watching you talk to your son, and I talk to your son all the time. Man, listen, when you talking to your son, I've heard you talk about him, and you talking about the things you do with him, the places you take him, the things you introduce him to, even about dating. Just simple things like that. You build a capacity in your son to learn how to deal with adversity and overcome. That's what I believe.
Man, it's crazy because I'm telling you, Will, Brinson, BJ. Let me just tell you a little story. I had a good friend of mine. I want to say it was one of my best friends growing up, but he may somehow see this one day and be like, talk about me.
No names, no names.
I know it. But I had a good friend of mine who, one of my best friends growing up, we kind of was like two peas in a pot. We were together all the time. And he didn't have a father. He wasn't raised with a father. He had a father, but he wasn't present in his life. And I had a father. And I remember growing up, sometimes I used to get so mad because I couldn't do some of the things he would do. Right. Like he would call me and be like, Chris, what's up, man?
Yeah,
Get out, man. We out here.
Yeah.
We doing it. We doing it big, dog. We out here. We doing it. You know what I'm
Your
saying?
dad like,
and
you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. And I'm like looking at the clock thinking, man, I got 15 minutes till I got to be home. So if I get out, by the time I get there, I got to head back. And then, I was a pretty good basketball player coming up. And I remember, man, I made varsity my sophomore year. They moved me up to varsity. That's how good I was. But all the varsity guys would go out after the game. My dad was a preacher, so where you think I went? Home. Prayer meeting. Not home, to church.
Church, man. Vacation Bible school to church.
You know what I'm saying? But I remember them times when I couldn't do a lot of things. He loosened up when I became a senior, stuff like that. He loosened up a little bit. But I remember, and I used to always say, man, I hate that crap. I can't do this. But then when I had my kids, and my kids were coming up, and they were growing up, they were at Klein Collins and stuff like that. And I remember having to say, hey, no, you can't do that this time.
Right.
What? All my friends going this time. But they didn't understand. But I didn't understand it too because I had a lot of friends that didn't make it as far as I am now.
Yes, sir.
They had car accidents. They did this.
Yes, sir.
They doing this. And I didn't understand why my dad was the way he was. Like, come on, man. I'm just going. Surely you should know. I want to go out and look at something or whatever. Surely you should know. But I didn't have that privilege. But my friend, he was everywhere. Yeah. Anywhere it was to be, he was there. And I used to be like, dang, man, I can't go nowhere. But when I had kids, I was like, hey. And I remember telling my kids, one day, you're going to be sitting in front of your kids and you're going to know why I had to say no to that party.
Right, exactly.
Or why I had to say no to going on that trip.
Right.
Or whatever. One day you're going to realize.
Gotcha. Will, can you put something on there?
Oh, yeah. Man, shout out, God rest my mom's soul, man. She left us 3 years ago. Had it was 4 of us. Got 3 other brothers. And when I tell you, man, she raised us right. Ain't none of us in jail. My oldest brother, he tried his best to go, but my mama wouldn't. He tried
to lease an apartment over there.
Yeah, he tried his best, but my mama wouldn't let him. So
you ain't going.
Yeah, you were not going. She used me as a tool to make sure he didn't go. But man, and my kids, Lil William, Jordan, Jalen. Man, what I tell you, you ask what's missing. A woman cannot raise a man. It's genetically and structurally impossible. Yeah. They cannot raise a man. And when I look at
what's on TD Jakes over there.
When I look at what's missing is the structure is the power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got the soft side, and then you got the man side. You know what I'm saying? You got the mother side, then you got the father side. There's a huge difference. So my wife always tell me, she say, if I yell his name, he act like he don't hear me. I can say, Jalen. Sir?
Yeah.
I remember them days.
So what's missing is that structure, that stern discipline. That's what's missing is that man.
Yeah.
That and I'm not just talking about a man. I'm talking about a man.
Right.
With a capital A and a capital M.
Yeah,
That's good. That's right.
Yeah.
Talking about a man.
Yeah.
So man, what's missing, is that fatherly structure, that fatherly figure. Don't get me wrong, man. I have my downfalls just like any other man do.
Yeah.
But when it comes up to my children, I don't. What they see is a man who got it all together.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And that's and to a certain extent, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And what I'm showing them is that part of it. That's my main goal in life, is to show them that part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get me wrong. That's been my biggest regret. Is I left my wife, my first wife. We separated and divorced when my kids were 5 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Had I looked back, and probably had I had a father figure in my life, I probably would have stuck through that, because it wasn't about me.
That's real.
I made it about me at that time.
Dead?
Yeah, that's
But
real.
it wasn't about me. And one thing I promised myself afterwards, when Jalen was born, is that he's going to see a father. My other two, they see a father, they see a dad, but he sees the real dad.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you ask him, man, you can't tell him nothing about his dad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you ask him, well, your dad's this, and that. No, that's my dad. So you can't tell me nothing about my dad.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest regret. So I feel like, yeah, man, it's definitely important that that
father's in that house.
Now, of course, if you just gotta go, I understand.
Right.
But it ain't all about you. And
Man,
looking back,
that's it
I
right
made it
there.
all about me. This
My
time I
goodness
didn't. I
gracious,
made
man.
it all about my family.
Right.
I made it all about my son. I made it all about my wife. I made it all about my household.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's what missed.
And when I make that statement, and sometimes, relationships don't work out. But even not being in the house, a father can still be truly active
Definitely.
in that,
definitely.
in that
Definitely.
child's life. You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying? And so that question kind of was from that. Like, you didn't have to be standing there, because I know.
Exactly.
Right.
But
I know.
it is a plus, though.
Well, it's a plus now. It's a plus,
definitely
because I know I watch my daughters, and my wife would be like, well, I said something, but when you said, because it's it's a dad, and I know my oldest, she probably watched this and be like, come on, dad, god dang. But she was older, she was staying there, she was in the academy, and her mom was going, they had a little deal, and I said, hold on, player, hold on now. I know you grown, but ain't but one queen in this
That's
motherfucker.
it. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
it.
one king now. So you just need to
That's
hold
it.
down
Yeah.
and bring it
Yeah.
down. So she had to bring it down, like, okay, I said, so I get it, but it's a king and a queen, and you two princesses, y'all got to
So did
depart.
she tell you to go
Stay
kick
in
Rocky?
place.
You told
No,
her?
she said you got it, daddy. 'Cause she know. Look here, I done punched a whole lot of walls.
I seen one. Did you repair it?
Yeah, I repaired it after a while.
It stayed on there for a long time.
I had to leave that imprint in her mind, like, this gonna be your head.
It's funny, man. I've heard this said. Just I guess to end this out, is that the greatest thing that a man could do for his children is to love his wife. And that is powerful to me, man, because like I said, you build, whether it be male or female,
Yeah, right.
you build a capacity in that woman to endure, and you build a capacity in your son to endure, how to handle situations, man, and that's tough. And like, man, because the more I love my wife, the more my daughter and I connect.
Connecting to that.
And when I talk good about my wife to my daughter,
Yeah.
and man, I want to tell you, I don't care what issues you go through with your wife, don't talk to your kids about that mess.
Amen.
Don't talk to your kids. They will resent you.
And let me piggyback on that, because it's no secret that I divorced, I think maybe 5-6 years ago. And
I thought you about to say 5 or 6 times. Like,
Like, that's
that
a
sermon there.
I said that I think Ben. I said,
I'm like, 5 or 6.
That's a secret.
Cut. This ain't working out.
if it don't work out the one time, I'm done. I'm just gonna go over and be like, Paul,
Oh, I'm getting nervous.
done.
I didn't know this was on the show.
It was important to me that my sons still see me respect their mom. It was important to me. Let me tell you, and just because you got a father in the home, still don't guarantee you to do everything.
That's right.
That's
right, brother.
That's right.
If my father was right here, right now, he would probably be highly disappointed in some of the choices that I've made.
Right.
You know, so I didn't pick up everything.
Yeah,
right.
Some stuff I left at the door. You know, but the one thing I wanted to make sure is that my sons see me treat their mom good, even to this day. Even to this day, we don't fight in front of them. We don't argue. We don't do any of that stuff. Everything that happened between me and her happened in the confines of our bedroom or somewhere else, not in front of them.
And that's powerful.
And to this day, they see me doing nothing but respecting their mom.
And they keep respect for you.
And they keep respect for me as a result.
Wonderful, man. So let me close this out with this last question right here, and then we can.
It's about 6. This ain't about 6.
No, this is about daddies and fathers. This is not about marriage. we'll get to that. That's when we're on an episode. So we'll get to that. I got a lot to say on that. Right. So let me ask you this question right here as we wrap this up, man. And think about it for a minute. When you think about this, in having your father, again, not having your father, and we kind of talked about this, how did it play a role in your life today as a father?
Ooh. I guess I'm up. Hey, man, listen. I am having some of the same issues. I talked to a couple of you guys a few minutes ago. I have a 36-year-old daughter, man, that I had, when I was 18 years old. And, man, I tell you that our relationship has emulated the relationship I had between my father. And it has caused me in real time, and I'm talking about, we had a conversation today, to reflect on my relationship with my dad and to make sure that I correct that. Because here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. No matter who you are, your perspective is your reality. My dad was one of 13 kids, man. One of 13. He knew his daddy, but his daddy never lived with him. His daddy never lived, never married his mom. So as I got older, I started to think, well, how did I expect my dad to understand how to raise a son when his dad or granddad was never around? He wasn't even in his house. So it helped me to reflect and say, I've got to forgive him and have a relationship with him. I have to force that as his son, right? And I'm not saying he don't have a responsibility, but I have to force that because now I'm looking at my 36-year-old who our relationship is similar. She resents the fact that I wasn't there for her coming up. And so I have to force that in hopes that the lessons I learned, someday my 36-year-old daughter will learn the same lessons. And if I'm asking God to correct that with my daughter, and I've been praying about it, I've got to first lay this out with my dad. And guys, I'm telling you, I'm doing this in real time today. I get chills thinking about it because I just talked to my daddy today about this very thing. Because I want to make sure that I'm doing all I can to love him and let him know, Dad, I forgive you. You did the best you could out of the time and the years that you had. And now I got to do what I have to do to be a good son to you in hopes that my daughter will someday see the same. So.
That's crazy. And it's funny that you went that route with it, BJ, because I when he said the question, I was going to go that route with it too. Let me tell you something. When my father passed away, it was one of the most devastating times in my life.
I remember that.
My dad hated Houston. When me and my brothers moved out here to Houston, he hated it. He always said it's too hot. He can't stand the heat and all that.
You're right.
He asked to come out here for a week. He said, I'm going to come out there for a week just to visit y'all. Me and two of my other brothers had moved out here, and he wanted to come out and visit. He came out and actually stayed an extra week because he was having such a good time visiting with us. Well, he got on the airplane, went home. On the airplane, he had a stroke. Long story short, he went into a coma. He left on a Tuesday. Wednesday, we had to be back in Alabama with him in the hospital. No response, just there. Right. Well, I remember we were going through his stuff because they were kind of preparing us. They was like, it don't look good. His brain is kind of already gone and things like that. We was going through his stuff, and I'm just giving y'all a picture of the greatest thing my father ever taught me. We were going through his stuff, going through insurance policies and stuff like that, and we came across some letters in he had his stuff, he had his personal stuff that he probably didn't even, that my mom didn't even know about, but we went through his little personal stuff, and we saw some letters that he had, and each one of the letters were to God, and man, it amazing if you guys would have read these letters. He was writing stuff like, dear God, thank you for my life, health, and strength. Wow. He said, I'm writing today because I just feel like I disappointed you. We don't have the money for this. Our lights may go off, but I want to tell you. So
this is like his journal to God.
Yeah, he would write letters to God. Right. Today I fussed at Edna. My mom was Edna. I fussed at Edna about this, God, and I really spoke in a way that I shouldn't have spoke. That right there was the beginning of me learning the power of prayer. Because each one of those letters was his prayer. And me and my brothers, and we reading these letters, and we like, tears falling, and we like, wow. Like, hey, God, today I feel horrible. I don't have enough money for the kids' Christmas. This, and it. Imagine your dad on his deathbed and you reading these letters. That's powerful. And I'm like, wow. Gosh. And that was one of the great, and you talk about the effects of having a father in the home or not having a father in the home. The greatest thing he taught me and my brothers and my sisters was the power of prayer. That's one thing that will never leave me. My need and my want and even my ability to just go to God with my problems, because I saw my dad do it. I saw him humble himself and say, I ain't got it all together. God, you got to help me with this one. I don't know how we gonna work it out. And man, that's one of, and you talk about the effects of a father being in the home and not being in the home. Yeah, that's one of the greatest things I got that has carried me all these years. Man,
that's powerful.
So what about you, Will?
And I read something, Mark Twain. He said he didn't realize how smart his father had gotten until he got older.
Right.
But it can have an ill adverse effect. It just is on the decision that you decide to make. Mm-hmm. You could either look at it as, since I didn't have a father, I'm just going to be a sperm donor. Or you can look at it and say, because I didn't have a father, I'm gonna be more than a sperm donor. Mm-hmm. And that's the decision that I took, because I didn't have a father. I don't want my kids to ever know what it feels like to not have one. Mm-hmm. So what I did, man, the decision that I made is, no matter what, no matter how tough it get for them or whatever the case may be, they know. They ain't got to call me every day, but I wanted to make sure they knew that you can call me. No matter what decision you made, no matter what you've done, you can call me. Mm-hmm. And that's my biggest thing, is to make a lasting impression on my kids that, man, I don't care what you've done. Yeah, I'm dad. You can call me.
Oh, yeah.
So I made that decision because I didn't have a father in the home. I made that decision to make sure that they knew, and they ain't got to want for nothing. Because I tell my daughter, I used to tell my daughter all the time, I said, baby, look. And when I never forget it, she quoted it back to me. She said, a guy tried to talk to her, whatever, and he was trying to, because I told her, I said, they're gonna try to talk your panties off, baby. I'm telling you right now. And she said, well, she said, Daddy, I told him, well, can you do more than my daddy can?
Come on now.
She said, and he was like, what? She said, because my dad said he can do this and he can do that. I say, you better, and you hold me to that.
Yeah.
I say, because trust me, if he say yeah, then he better be ready. He better have it.
That's good.
He better have it. So, it can be an ill adverse effect. I decided to not make it because I didn't have one. I decided not to make my kids feel the way I felt.
That you felt, yeah.
So.
And to piggyback off that, and BJ, you said something earlier, man. The first thing I had to do was learn how to forgive my father.
Come on, man.
And then once I forgave him, I said I won't be like him, with my kids. And so even though my wife and I had some struggles in our marriage, I refused to not be involved in my daughter's life, and then in my, as we got back in, but my kid's life, period. You know what I'm saying? And so, but that's the effect that it had, was that I wanted to be better than he was as a father. But then the reverse effect is that I was so busy trying to be what he was not to me as a father, I was being a bad husband.
Wow. Man.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was so focused on like trying to be this great father. Like I got to be, and they like, you know,
100
you give them everything, you know what I'm saying? But I forgot that part, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people get upset
That's a different
because the
show,
truth,
boy.
that's another episode, because the truth of the matter is that, you know, the spouse comes first and then the children.
Right.
But because I hadn't had that father, I just had to go 900 miles per hour to be like, yo, daddy, you know, is that, you know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of effect that, you know, it had on me. And so, like I said, I'm truly grateful that, you know, God was able to bless me, and, you know, and something happened with my child, and it's been another episode, but some things went on with her personally. And when she began to tell me, you know, she was like, Dad, I could talk to you about everything except this one particular issue. You and I had this conversation, this one particular issue, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know. And I said, I messed up on that part because I wasn't here for you on that. So I apologized to her. But what I told her at the end of this conversation is like, look, I'm your father. I'm your dad. I'm going to love you regardless. Yeah. Whatever it is, we can work through it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, that was the fact that, you know, not having that father, how it played on me with my kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, man, I appreciate that in this whole. With all that being said, man, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight, man. This has been very powerful, man, and I hope that some people can get something out of this, man. And like I always say to myself, this is my slogan: to be better is to do better. Yeah. So, you know, whatever you're drinking tonight right now, I see Jordan kind of drunk his all up, man. Can you toast up with me real quick, man, before we end this thing, man? Yeah, and for what is all that's going on, man, for all y'all that's watching, listen, come on, don't take this personal. Good night, man.
We
Good
just
night,
talking.
man.
We just talking.
We just talking.